Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Insanity Check. I am Ken.
And I am Skillet Sauce. I don't have my.
Yeah, just literally noticed that you don't have your.
I don't
your
have my.
uniform on
And
today.
I'll tell you why. I don't have my shirt on today. It's because I accidentally washed my Dave Chappelle shirt and thought it was. I thought I had all my blacks together, and I didn't realize that shirt had fallen on the floor. My Skillet Sauce shirt, step up or step away shirt, and it was mad funky. So in a closed room like this, there was not enough Febreze to deal with that shirt because it was next to like wet gym clothes, which contaminated it. So I couldn't even like shake it out or like do any of the old techniques. It was just next week.
All you Klansmen out there can sympathize what happens when you don't have your blacks together.
Exactly.
It's a problem.
Exactly.
It's a problem.
Boom, bop. So,
Exactly.
and I'm already getting grief because I don't have this shirt on. Literally, already getting grief. But yeah, but
Yeah, next week. Or week after.
Week after, whatever. Yeah. All right.
So we have we intentionally tried to stay away from the ultra sick this week. The last 2 weeks has just been a smattering of nastiness.
Nastiness and crazy debauchery. I, of course, brought in what I normally bring in, but Ken being the moderator, he decided to say, let's not talk about some of the things because some of it was just beyond disturbing.
Yeah.
We live in a sick world.
Yeah. We also live in an unfortunate world, as we've come to know.
Our first story, which is, I don't even know how this dude is paid. This guy's paid in full. Like Eric being Rakim song, this guy is paid in full.
So apparently, a 16-year-old accused of stealing a backpack spent almost 3 years
In jail.
in Rikers Island and was never convicted of anything. Rikers Island, obviously people in the city know Rikers.
People in New York where we're stationed. Yeah.
It's commonly confused and apparently there's a difference between a prison and a jail. Jail is pretty much where they kind of hold you until you go to prison, for the most part. Rikers Island is a jail. But we have had a friend who was a CO on Rikers for years, and
Rikers it's a jail, it's not a prison?
that's what they say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you're talking about our friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw Frank recently, and he said he didn't know where he was either. He's like, this brother fell off. But
I told you he's on Facebook.
But the stories about this particular,
just mad abuse. COs,
shivins, shankings, COs screwing around, the female COs screwing around with the male inmates.
Yeah,
you name it, everything.
And of course, those midnight showers. They tell us about where you were dragged out of your cell by COs, thrown down a flight of stairs,
and beaten,
and then beaten after death. And shit.
Yeah, terrible shit. So this is where this young man, Khalif Browder, found himself. It says 16-year-old high school sophomore Khalif Browder of the Bronx spent nearly 3 years locked up at the Rikers jail after he says he was falsely accused of stealing a backpack. Amazingly, Browder never pleaded guilty, actually refused to plead guilty and requested a trial, even when pressured, but was never convicted and was only offered plea deals while the trial was repeatedly delayed. I have experience with this.
No.
Yeah. And it was actually my brother. He said he was going, the old-fashioned days before the fare card, we actually put the token in the thing. It was the old yellow turnstiles. And because they were very, very wide, so it was easy for someone to come in behind you. And he said he had put his token in, and some girl came behind him and pushed through. So it was a sting going on at the station, and they soaked him up. So he said, listen, I paid. This person came in behind me. That's the end of it. I paid. They were like, well, come do community service, come in here. He was like, no. And he refused. And each time they would try and give him something, because basically they want to get free labor. So they was like, well, just do this. Well, just, instead of 60 hours, 30 hours, instead of 30 hours, 15 hours. And he said, if I got to do this until the day that I die, I'm not guilty. I paid. I am never going to plead to anything. I don't want it on my record. I don't want anything there. And that's the kind of conviction that this young man, stood for, which is true because if you plead to try and get yourself off of something that you shouldn't have to do anyway, that's going to follow this young man.
Of course.
It's going to follow this young man.
So Browder, a high school student, spent an unbelievable 800 days, or over 2 years, in solitary confinement, which is a common juvenile imprisonment practice in New York City Department of Corrections, and has now banned after several investigations. How does a teen end up in jail for 3 years, of which 2 years was spent in solitary confinement and never to be charged with a crime? Good question. Browder's case highlights several broken mechanisms in the New York's legal system that feeds itself to civil liberty abuses on our youth. Just trying to go through this really quickly. The 16th Amendment gives us the right to a speedy trial, but New York has the ready rule. The ready rule allows the courts to postpone trial dates by offering continuations. The system may give a continuance for 1 week, but logistically, it may be a month before the trial actually comes to fruition, and still not convicted civilians only get credit for 1 week. So basically, it's 1 week, but you're actually still in jail in reality for a month.
Yeah.
But they'll just say you've only been in there for 1 week, or it's been postponed for only 1 week rather. Not the actual time that they served. In Browder's case, he was given an absolutely ridiculous number of continuations initiated by the prosecution, which left him locked up because he could not afford the $3,000 bail. Now, just to stop here, and not that he's responsible or he's in any way wrong, but if you're in jail for over 2 years, no one could come up with 3 Gs? I mean, unless it turns into a principal issue, but while you stand on any type of principle, your underage kid is in jail.
See, I don't know anything about this system. I don't know if the $3,000 bail was for the initial period before, because I don't know. See, the way this article presented it, I don't know if he was in Rikers right away. He could have been in, like the place on
House of detention.
Yeah, it could have been a detention center. So I don't know. I don't know how long this $3,000 bail thing is on the table. I really don't understand, how the legal system works from, how it's supposed to work, but I, obviously see how it doesn't work, but I don't know the ins and outs and the particulars. So right. I don't know.
Browder was a high school student, and juveniles are supposed to continue their education while behind bars, except for juveniles that are in solitary confinement. Guards would place juveniles in solitary confinement, and the schooling would stop relinquishing any educational support. While in solitary, Browder says the guards would routinely refuse to give him meals. Hunger is a common complaint by teens that are locked up because of the 12-hour stretch between dinner and breakfast. Guards would use starve tactics to their discretion for punishment or their own personal enjoyment. Again, the sadistic nature of these guards has been well documented by our friend who was a CO.
Yeah, splashing off inside, busting off inside of people's meals and spitting in their meals. And
Browder says the worst of the starvation lasted for 4 meals in a row, meaning he was denied breakfast, lunch, dinner, and another breakfast. As it stands, the courts place people in these situations, and it's a human nature for some to strike a plea deal just to get out of jail. But Browder did not play into their game and take a plea deal, but maintained his innocence and requested a trial, which came at a snail's pace. This leads one to believe that the courts use this as a planned tactic or procedure to play on human nature, all in the name of getting conviction.
That's what I said.
Exactly.
They wanted this man in the system. They wanted this young black man in the system.
And last but not least, the issues of the public defender have been long recorded across the country. In New York, courts-appointed lawyers make $75 a case. In order to make money, the PDs have to take a huge caseload, which leads to other problems. Browder, although locked up for nearly 3 years in Rikers, where his PD was located every day, never once was visited by his PD or had anyone to advocate his case for him. This shows a reckless disregard, which leads to a vicious cycle of apathy that often leads to innocent people to copping pleas and getting longer sentences.
How many? I would really, because this didn't, I found this. I forgot how. I think someone sent this to me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who gave this to me. I'm not sure. I got to go back. I don't know if Eve sent it. I don't know who sent it. But where have I found this from? It wasn't like my normal feeds. I didn't see this. I didn't come across this. I wonder if more people knew about this particular case, would they come forward and say that they, in fact, were in this similar situation? Because we always talk about this whole, prison industrial complex and all this other kind of stuff. People, cheap labor for inmates. And seriously, if someone says, hey, we're going to give you 12 years for something that you didn't do, and you're most likely going to do those 12 years, or at least 8 of those 12. But you can plead out, even though you're innocent, and get out in 18 months. How many people wouldn't, go, you know what, you're right. I have a wife home, a child at home, or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Fuck it. I'll take the 18 months and have this thing. I'd rather be free with something dogging me, record-wise, than in prison. God knows what can happen to you after 8 years, what type of person you'll be when you come out, if you make it out. So this is, we've already documented exactly, what do they say? How many, 1 in 4? What was the record for people in prison here? 1 in 100. 1 in 100 of our population has been in prison or incarcerated at some point in time. And we have more prisoners, more people going to jail in this country than we have, than they have in China, remember? Yeah. It's just absolutely ridiculous. We have the most people per populace in prison, and the most medicated people, hopped up on pharmaceuticals and all that shit. It's showing you that there's a lot broken with this place, and people need to stop deluding themselves, because as shocking as this is, it's shocking, I guess, with the details, but it's not surprising.
No.
It's not surprising.
And just to finish this off, Khalif Browder has now been free for 60 months, and of course is filing a suit against the city of New York. But he'll never be the same. After all that time in solitary confinement has changed him.
And you didn't touch upon it. You did 2 years in solitary.
Right, 2 years in solitary, yeah. When his friends and family try to get him to venture out and have fun, he chooses to shut the door to his room and create a solitary confinement. To recreate the solitary confinement he experienced. He has been institutionalized and a product of a broken system. The Rikers Island jail complex in New York is it's one of the 10 worst prisons in the United States, according to Mother Jones. What's amazing about the distinction, this is what I was saying a little while ago, is that Rikers Island actually is not a prison, but a jail, where reportedly 85% of the inmates are legally still considered innocent because of the
No, they fucked up. Because they technically have not been convicted for a crime, and they are being housed until they receive sentencing or charges.
Right, exactly. So,
wow, Rikers Island is an especially broken institution when it comes to the adolescent population, who are subject to many proven atrocities such as beatings, starvings, and putting 16 or 17-year-olds in solitary confinement, often producing even more broken individuals than they were when they entered. This is just,
So if the broken window laws are targeting blacks and Latinos, then when they get picked up for something, they go to Rikers Island.
Yeah.
And then they're in there, and, even if, let's go 1/3 of this kid's time in jail. You're going to spend, 8-9 months in jail because you...
In solitary.
In solitary because you were riding your bike on the sidewalk, or you were smoking a joint or some shit like that. And that's supposed to help out the youth and
no, it's not.
Look, what's the purpose?
Well, look, I don't think you can deny the racial component to this. I'm pretty sure, people are fans of the show. We've hit you with numbers before when we had those numbers-heavy shows with statistics and all this other kind of crap. It's obviously disproportionate, the amount of minorities that are going inside these systems as opposed to non-minorities. And to do something like this to a person that's 16 years of age, you basically, like I said, the young man is institutionalized. He's basically ruined. He's ruined, and how many of these people are in a situation where they're ruined? Who knows? He might actually, who knows what he may have had to do to survive inside. Imagine if he got into physical altercations. So he might have been a non-violent individual and come out and been like a total monster.
But see, this is the thing though. If you're a juvenile, you go into solitary confinement. Okay, let's just say you're 18. Okay, or 19, and you haven't done shit at all, but you get into this type of situation.
And you're in general.
Now you're in general population.
So now you got to turn into fucking Conan and shit or something just to survive. So you might have been a docile, passive human being.
And God help you if you're put in a do or die situation, and you have to fucking kill somebody.
Now your sentence gets extended. And now you're really in there for something because you were innocent going in, but you had to fend off some fool and box cutter him or whatever shiv that you had to make or whatever to do to get out of the situation. Now they can tack that on, and now you're just in the system. So it's like I said, it's shocking, but it's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. I mean, I know some of my belligerent mouthing off, situations when I was detained by the police for various nonsensical stoppages. I'm surprised I didn't get, I don't know what this table is made out of, because I flat out tell them, you just want my black ass in the system. And you're hoping that this will turn into something else, that I'll say something or do something, and now you'll have a reason or a justification. And I say this aloud. I say this right to them. And I'm proud that I stand up for myself, but it's not actually kind of wise. If I had children, I don't know if I would tell them to be saying and doing that kind of shit, because they literally could, shove me or whatever. And then if I, braze up like, why'd you do that? That's it. And now I'm getting soaked up. So yeah, it's just an unfortunate cycle. And I think there's a heavy, obviously there's a business component to it, like I said, as far as in the cheap labor that's been well documented, but I think there's a racial component also.